My name is Mark Turner, and I'm 32 years old. I've always considered myself an easygoing guy, a software engineer by trade, devoted to my work and my family. My wife, Sarah, who's 30 and a marketing manager, and I built a life together that I thought was unshakable. We had been married for 6 years, and I was convinced we were a power couple, always the envy of our friends. Our weekend barbecues, game nights, and spontaneous road trips painted a perfect picture. But, as they say, appearances can be deceiving. It all began on an unremarkable Wednesday. The sun shone through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow on my cup of coffee as I scrolled through my phone, trying to catch up on the latest tech trends. Sarah was supposed to be at work, but I noticed her phone buzz on the counter, displaying a message from a contact named Cousin Dave. I shrugged it off at first. Family messages could wait, right? But something gnawed at me, a feeling deep down that I couldn't ignore. As the day went on, a sense of unease settled in. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I decided to sneak a peek at her phone when she was in the shower. The moment I unlocked it, I was hit with a wave of disbelief. There it was, flirty texts back and forth, peppered with inside jokes and an intimacy that made my stomach turn. I scrolled further, heart racing as I stumbled upon photos of Sarah and Dave at a bar, laughter and smiles that looked far too genuine for mere family. My blood ran cold as I realized that this wasn't just innocent fun, it was the kind of connection that hinted at something much more scandalous. I felt the air grow heavy in the room, the walls closing in on me. The betrayal stung, a sharp pain radiating through my chest. I had to confront her, but the question loomed large: how? Should I confront her outright, or play the unsuspecting husband? I decided on the latter, knowing full well that the truth would soon surface. That evening, as Sarah returned from work, I feigned normalcy. We chatted about our day, but I could see her glancing at me, perhaps sensing my internal turmoil. I forced a smile, all the while plotting my next move. I couldn't allow myself to look weak. I needed to maintain my composure. The next morning, I devised a plan. I would follow Sarah to work, get a sense of her routine, and gather more evidence. The thought of surveillance made my heart race, but the reality of the situation spurred me on. I couldn't bear the thought of my wife being unfaithful, especially with someone from her family. I parked discreetly across the street from her office and waited. Time felt like molasses as I watched her walk into the building, pretending to be oblivious to my presence. My mind raced with possibilities, each one darker than the last. I thought of our wedding vows. How could she betray me like this? After a couple of hours, I noticed Sarah receiving a text. She looked around, her eyes darting before responding. It was a small interaction, but it fueled my suspicions. I watched as she laughed at something on her phone, her laughter ringing through the air, cutting deeper than any knife. I couldn't help but wonder, was she laughing at my expense? Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I saw Dave pull up in his car, casual and carefree. I felt a surge of adrenaline mixed with rage as I watched them interact. They were far too familiar with each other, sharing inside jokes and laughter that felt like daggers in my heart. I could hardly breathe. As they embraced, it became painfully clear that this was more than just a family connection. This was an affair. I had to take action. I felt a primal instinct rising within me, a drive for revenge that burned hotter than any betrayal. I snapped a few pictures as proof, knowing these would serve as the foundation for my next steps. I drove home, my mind racing with possibilities of what to do next. Should I confront them both? Should I gather more evidence? I wanted to make sure I wouldn't just confront Sarah, I needed to expose her for the fraud she was. The thought of ruining her carefully curated facade of perfection fueled my desire for revenge. I stewed in my anger, imagining her face when I revealed everything. The audacity of cheating on me with her cousin was beyond comprehension. I felt like a fool for not seeing it sooner. I was done being the nice guy. It was time to show her that actions have consequences. As I entered our home, the walls that once felt like a sanctuary now felt like a prison. I could already envision the confrontation and the truth of her betrayal spilling out like a broken dam. Little did I know that the tale would take a turn I never saw coming, one that would force me to confront not only Sarah's infidelity but my own values and what I truly wanted from this shattered marriage. The stage was set, and the game was just beginning. The air in our home felt different. It was thick with tension, as if the walls themselves held their breath, waiting for the inevitable explosion. I paced the living room, rehearsing my words. Every time I thought about confronting Sarah, I felt that familiar surge of rage bubbling beneath the surface. I had gathered the evidence I needed: photos, text messages, proof of betrayal. Now, all I had to do was find the right moment to drop the bombshell. The evening came, and Sarah walked in, her face lit up by a smile that once brought me comfort. Tonight, however, it felt like a mask, hiding the truth behind those lips. She placed her bag on the kitchen counter and called out, "Hey, honey, I brought home takeout. Hope you're hungry." Her cheerful tone grated on my nerves. I forced a smile, suppressing the storm inside me. "Yeah, I'm starving," I replied, knowing full well that my appetite had vanished. I sat at the dining table, staring at the food she had laid out before me, the vibrant colors and aromatic smells lost on my anger. As she dished out the food, I watched her closely, trying to gauge whether she had any idea what was about to happen. "Sarah, we need to talk," I finally said, my voice steady but cold. The moment those words left my mouth, I could feel the tension rise, like a taut wire ready to snap. Her cheerful demeanor shifted instantly. "Oh, that sounds serious. Is everything okay?" She placed the spoon down, her eyes darting to mine, and I could see the mask starting to slip. "Everything is far from okay," I said, my heart pounding in my chest. "I know about you and Dave." Her expression morphed into one of confusion, and for a moment, I thought she might play innocent, but I pressed on, determined to make my point. "I saw the texts, the photos. You thought I wouldn't find out, didn't you?" Sarah's face paled, and she opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. The silence hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I could see the gears turning in her mind as she tried to come up with a plausible excuse. But I wasn't about to let her off the hook that easily. "Don't try to deny it," I continued, my voice rising. "I've seen everything. You betrayed me with your cousin, of all people." Each word felt like a bullet, and I watched as they hit their mark. She flinched at my tone, her eyes shimmering with a mix of fear and defiance. "Mark, please, let's talk about this," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "You don't understand." "I don't understand," I interrupted, my anger boiling over. "What's to understand? You've been sleeping with Dave behind my back. How could you do this to me?" My voice cracked slightly as I fought against the tide of emotions threatening to consume me. "Listen, I made a mistake. It didn't mean anything," she stammered, desperately searching for the right words. "It was just a moment of weakness." "A moment of weakness?" I scoffed. "You call betraying your husband a moment of weakness? It's pathetic, Sarah. You've been sneaking around, lying to my face, and you expect me to just let it go?" Her eyes glistened with tears, and a flicker of regret crossed her features, but I was beyond compassion. "You need to understand the gravity of what you've done. This isn't just about you and me anymore, this is about trust, about our entire marriage." I stood up from the table, my hands clenched into fists, struggling to contain my rage. "Mark, please. I'm begging you," she said, her voice cracking. "I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I could handle it, but it got out of control. I didn't mean for it to go this far." "Didn't mean for it to go this far?" I echoed, incredulous. "You think that justifies anything? You think I can just forget about this and pretend everything is fine? You've shattered our life together." Sarah looked at me, a mixture of fear and desperation in her eyes. "What do you want me to say?" "I'm sorry. I'll do anything to make this right." I shook my head, the anger swirling inside me like a hurricane. "You want to make it right? Start by telling me the truth, everything. How long has this been going on? Was this just a fling, or is there something deeper?" My voice trembled with a mix of fury and heartbreak, and I knew I was pressing her into a corner. She hesitated, biting her lip, clearly struggling with what to reveal. "It was just a few months, but it felt more complicated than that. I didn't want to admit it to myself, but we connected on a level I didn't expect." The admission hit me like a physical blow. "Connected? Is that what you call it? You're telling me you have feelings for him?" "I don't know," she admitted, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I didn't plan for this to happen. I thought it would be a little fling to spice things up, but it turned into something I can't explain. I know it's wrong. I'm so sorry." "Sorry isn't good enough," I snapped, rage consuming me. "You think a simple apology will fix this? You've crossed a line, Sarah, and there's no going back. I deserve better than this." Just as I was about to launch into another tirade, her phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with another message from Dave. A sickening knot twisted in my stomach. "More from your boyfriend?" I spat, my voice dripping with sarcasm. She reached for her phone, but I snatched it from her before she could even get a grip. "Let's see what else you've been hiding." I unlocked it, scrolling through the messages as her face went pale. There were texts about meeting up, secret rendezvous, and plans that made my blood boil. Then I found something that made my heart stop. "Wait, what's this?" I read aloud, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Just tell Mark you're working late again." Her face fell, panic flooding her features as I read the words. No, Mark, that's not what it looks like, she protested, but I could see the truth spilling out of her like water from a broken dam. Are you serious right now? You've been lying to me this whole time, and now you want me to believe you're innocent? This was never just a fling, was it? You've been planning this. I swear, I didn't mean for it to go this far, she cried, desperation edging her tone. Please, just let me explain. The twist of her confession landed heavy in the air. The depth of her deceit was shocking, and a new fire ignited within me, a desire for revenge that burned hotter than before. I had given her every chance to be honest with me, and now I was done playing the nice guy. Your words mean nothing to me now, Sarah. I've given you everything, and you've thrown it all away for a cheap thrill, I said, my voice low and menacing. If you think I'm just going to stand by and let this happen, you're gravely mistaken. Suddenly, a plan began to form in my mind, an idea that would unleash the full extent of my rage. You think this is just going to blow over? No, I'm going to make sure everyone knows what you've done. You've chosen this path, and now you're going to face the consequences. Her eyes widened in horror, and I could see the realization dawning on her. Mark, please, don't do this. We can fix this, we can go to counseling, anything. But it was too late. The wheels were in motion, and I was no longer the forgiving husband she had taken for granted. It's over, Sarah. You've made your bed, and now you'll have to lie in it. As I walked out of the room, the weight of my decision hung in the air like a guillotine, poised to drop at any moment. I knew this was just the beginning, and I was ready to embrace the chaos that was about to unfold. Little did I know that this outrageous betrayal would set off a chain reaction, leading to consequences I never saw coming. The game had changed, and I was determined to play it to the end. The days that followed my confrontation with Sarah felt like a whirlwind, a blur of anger and betrayal. The initial shock had subsided, replaced by a steely resolve that coursed through my veins. I had made up my mind to get my revenge, but I needed a plan, one that would expose Sarah for the deceitful person she had become and put her in her place. I would make sure everyone knew about her affair with her cousin, Dave, and let the chips fall where they may. After a sleepless night, I sat at my kitchen table, scrolling through my contacts. My phone buzzed, and I saw a message from a mutual friend, Lisa, who worked at the same company as Sarah. She had always been an ally and someone I trusted. I hesitated before replying, then typed out a quick message, "Hey, can we talk? I need your help with something." A few minutes later, Lisa replied, "Sure, what's going on?" I took a deep breath, weighing my words carefully. This was a delicate situation, but I knew Lisa would understand. I quickly typed, "It's about Sarah. She's been cheating on me with Dave. I need to expose them." Lisa's response came quickly, her concern evident. "Oh my God, are you serious? I'm so sorry. What do you want to do?" I replied, "I'm not sure yet, but I want to gather evidence and make sure everyone knows about their affair. Can you help?" "Absolutely. Let's meet up later," she replied. As the day wore on, I felt a mixture of anxiety and determination. I had no idea how Sarah would react to my plans, but I didn't care. It was time for her to face the music, and I was ready to orchestrate the symphony of her downfall. Later that afternoon, I met with Lisa at a coffee shop. We sat in a secluded corner, and I laid out my plan. "I need you to help me keep an eye on Sarah," I explained. "See if she's meeting up with Dave or if there's any way I can catch them in the act." Lisa nodded, her eyes filled with sympathy. "I can do that. I work closely with her, and I've heard some whispers around the office. People are starting to notice changes in her behavior. It's only a matter of time before they figure it out." That gave me a strange sense of satisfaction. I wanted Sarah to feel the heat of her actions, and I knew the workplace was the perfect stage for this drama to unfold. "Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate it," I said, my mind already racing with possibilities. As we continued to discuss our plan, I felt a surge of adrenaline. The taste of revenge was sweet, and I was ready to take action. But in the back of my mind, I was also plagued by doubt. What if this backfired? What if Sarah turned the tables on me? The thought made my stomach churn, but I pushed it aside. I was done being the victim. The following week was filled with tension. I was hyper-aware of Sarah's every move, watching her like a hawk. I worked late to avoid her as much as possible, giving her space to dig her own grave. I couldn't help but notice how she seemed oblivious to the storm brewing around her. Her cheerful demeanor was a facade, and I relished the thought of tearing it down. Then one evening, everything changed. I received a text from Lisa that sent my heart racing. I saw Sarah with Dave. They were at a bar downtown, getting cozy. "I think it's time we put your plan into action." The moment I read her message, my pulse quickened. This was the opportunity I had been waiting for. "I'll be there," I replied, my fingers trembling with excitement. I drove to the bar, my mind racing with possibilities. This was it. I would catch them red-handed and ensure Sarah's humiliation was on full display. As I pulled into the parking lot, I spotted Lisa's car and quickly joined her inside the bar. The atmosphere was electric, filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses. I scanned the room, searching for Sarah and Dave. It didn't take long to find them. They were seated in a dimly lit booth, leaning close together, their body language far too intimate for my liking. I felt a surge of rage wash over me. They looked like a couple, sharing secrets and laughter, while I was left in the cold. My heart raced as I motioned to Lisa, who pulled out her phone to discreetly record the moment. I took a deep breath and approached their booth, ready to confront them. "Mind if I join?" I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Both Sarah and Dave turned to me, shock etched on their faces. Sarah's mouth dropped open, and I could see the panic in her eyes as the color drained from her face. "Mark, what are you doing here?" she stammered, her voice shaky. "Just came to see what my lovely wife was up to," I said, leaning against the edge of the booth. "Seems like you two are having a great time." Dave recovered quickly, putting on a smug expression. "What's it to you, man? Just hanging out with family." "Family?" I scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "Is that what you're calling it now? Because it looks more like an affair to me." Sarah's eyes darted between me and Dave, her panic turning to anger. "Mark, this isn't what it looks like," she blurted out. "Then what is it?" I challenged, crossing my arms. "Because it sure looks like you're getting cozy with my wife. I thought we had something special, but apparently, you've been busy playing house with my cousin." The bar around us began to buzz with attention as other patrons turned to watch the scene unfold. I could feel the eyes of strangers boring into us, and I reveled in the spotlight. "Stop it. You're making a scene," Sarah hissed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Making a scene?" I echoed, my voice rising. "You've made a mockery of our marriage, and I'm supposed to just sit quietly while you betray me? No, Sarah, this is your moment in the spotlight, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what you've been up to." With that, I turned to the crowd, raising my voice. "Everyone, this is my wife, Sarah, and this is her lover, Dave. They've been sleeping together behind my back. Isn't that outrageous?" Gasps filled the bar, and the atmosphere shifted from relaxed to electrified. Faces turned toward us, and I could see the whispers beginning to spread like wildfire. I felt a rush of adrenaline as the reality of the situation sank in. This was what I had wanted, to expose Sarah and her affair for everyone to see. Sarah's face turned a shade of crimson as she looked around, horrified by the attention. "Mark, please, you don't have to do this," she pleaded, her voice cracking. But I was done listening to her excuses. "No, Sarah, it's too late for that. You've humiliated me for the last time. Let everyone see the truth about who you really are." Dave, visibly flustered, attempted to defend himself. "This is ridiculous. You're overreacting. We were just having a drink." "Just a drink?" I scoffed. "You think this is just casual? You've destroyed my marriage, and I'm not going to let you wiggle your way out of this. You both deserve every bit of shame that comes your way." The bar erupted into chaos. Some patrons cheered while others gasped in disbelief, and I could see Sarah's composure crumbling. Her once confident facade had shattered, revealing the truth beneath, a scared, cornered woman who had just lost everything. As I prepared to leave, my heart racing with triumph, I turned back to them. "This isn't over, Sarah. You may have betrayed me, but I'm just getting started. You're going to regret ever crossing me." With those words hanging in the air, I walked out of the bar, leaving them behind in a storm of humiliation. I had taken the first step in my revenge, but I knew this was only the beginning. The fallout from this moment would echo through our lives, and I was ready to watch as the world turned against Sarah. Little did I know, however, that the consequences of my actions would lead to a shocking twist that would change everything once again. The truth was far from over, and I was about to learn just how deep the betrayal ran. The aftermath of that explosive night at the bar reverberated through my life like a relentless storm. As I drove home, adrenaline coursed through my veins, mingling with a sense of satisfaction. I had exposed Sarah and Dave for what they truly were, but as the reality of my actions settled in, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that there would be consequences, ones I couldn't yet foresee. The next morning, I woke up to the sounds of my phone buzzing incessantly. I groaned and fumbled for it, blinking against the harsh light. The screen was flooded with messages, most of them from Lisa, filled with sympathy and outrage. Others were from friends who had heard the news and wanted to express their support. It felt surreal to be at the center of such a scandal, but I couldn't deny the rush of vindication. Amidst the chaos, there was a notification that caught my eye, a message from Sarah. I hesitated, my heart racing. "We need to talk. I'm so sorry. Please." I scoffed, bitterness bubbling within me. After everything, she wanted to talk? I typed back a quick reply, "Talk? You've said enough. I think everyone knows who you really are now." I tossed my phone aside, refusing to let her manipulate me any further. The morning went by in a blur, filled with phone calls and messages from friends, all eager to get the scoop on the latest drama. It felt strange to be the focal point of gossip, but I welcomed the support. As the day wore on, I tried to focus on work, but the distraction was overwhelming. My mind kept racing back to the bar, replaying the moment I confronted Sarah and Dave over and over again. The satisfaction of watching their faces as the truth unfolded filled me with a sense of power. But it wasn't long before I began to question my decision. Had I gone too far? Just as I was about to drown in my thoughts, my phone rang. It was Lisa. I answered immediately, grateful for the distraction. "Hey, what's up, Mark? You won't believe what just happened," she said, her voice laced with urgency. "I talked to a few people at work, and they are buzzing about the bar incident. But there's something else. Sarah is claiming you're the one who cheated on her." I felt the blood drain from my face. "What? How is that even possible?" "Apparently, she's spinning a narrative that you were never committed and that you pushed her into Dave's arms. She's trying to make herself the victim, and some people are buying it." I gripped my phone tightly, frustration boiling within me. This is insane. Everyone saw her with him. How could she turn this around? People love a good story, Mark, especially one where they can feel sorry for the wrong partner. You need to be careful. She's not going to back down without a fight. As the weight of her words settled in, I realized I was in for a war. I had exposed Sarah, but now she was fighting back, and I needed to be ready. "Thanks for the heads up, Lisa. I'll keep my guard up," I said, my resolve hardening. After hanging up, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had unleashed a beast. I needed to confront Sarah once and for all. I picked up my phone and messaged her, "Let's meet. I want to hear what you have to say." We arranged to meet at a coffee shop in town, a neutral ground where we could avoid the chaos of our homes. As I drove there, I replayed our last encounter in my head. I wanted to confront her with confidence, but uncertainty gnawed at me. Would she try to twist things again? Would she come prepared with more lies? When I arrived at the cafe, I spotted Sarah sitting at a table near the back, her face pale and drawn. She looked like a ghost of the woman I had once loved. As I approached, I could see her trying to maintain composure, but her hands trembled slightly. "Mark," she said, her voice shaky, "I'm glad you agreed to meet. Let's cut to the chase," I said, taking a seat across from her. "I've heard what you've been telling people. You're trying to play the victim, and it's pathetic." Her eyes widened, and she shook her head vehemently. "You don't understand. I never wanted it to come to this. I thought I could just fix things with you, but when I felt neglected, Dave was there. He was a comfort to me." "A comfort?" I spat, my anger boiling over. "You cheated on me with my cousin. You destroyed everything we built together, and now you want to act like it was a mistake." "It was a choice, Sarah." Tears welled in her eyes, and I could see her emotions flaring. I know. I was stupid, but I can't be the only one to blame. You were distant. You were always working, and I felt so alone." I leaned back, incredulous. "So you thought cheating was the answer? You think that makes you look good? You think playing the victim will get you sympathy? You're wrong. Mark, please. I'm trying to explain," she pleaded, her voice barely above a whisper. "I made a mistake, but I never wanted it to go this far. I just wanted to feel wanted again." I shook my head in disbelief. "Wanting someone doesn't mean you betray your partner. You could have come to me. You could have talked to me about how you were feeling instead of sleeping with Dave." "I know, but it was just so easy. I never meant to hurt you," she said, desperation lacing her voice. "I was confused. I thought you'd be better off without me. I thought we were done." The revelation hit me like a punch to the gut. "You thought we were done?" "Yes. You were so wrapped up in your work, and I didn't think you cared about me anymore. I thought I was being replaced," she confessed, tears streaming down her cheeks. At that moment, I could see how lost she was, but it didn't change the fact that she had betrayed me. That's not how relationships work, Sarah. You can't just run off and cheat because you feel neglected. You should have fought for us." She took a deep breath, wiping her tears. "I know, I messed up. I thought maybe if I could get away from you and this situation, I could figure things out. But all I've done is ruin everything." Silence hung between us, heavy with the weight of our shared pain. I didn't want to feel sorry for her, but I couldn't help it. I wanted to hate her, to keep that righteous anger as a shield. but deep down, I still cared for her. Mark, I know I don't deserve it, but I want to make things right. I want to fight for us, she said, her voice cracking. The words struck me like lightning. After everything, she still wanted to fix it. My heart waged a war against my mind. Could I trust her again? Was I willing to put myself through the emotional roller coaster of rebuilding? I leaned forward, searching her eyes for any sign of sincerity. How can I trust you again? You've broken that trust completely. I know, she admitted, her voice barely a whisper, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'll be transparent. I'll cut ties with Dave and work on rebuilding what we had. Please give me another chance. I took a deep breath, weighing her words. The thought of starting over seemed daunting, but the glimmer of hope in her eyes was undeniable. Yet, just as I began to soften, she added a shocking twist that left me reeling. I'm pregnant, she said quietly, her eyes wide with fear. The world around me faded as those words sank in. I felt my heart drop, my mind racing with possibilities. Was this real? Did she have a child with Dave? Or was she trying to manipulate me further? What? Are you serious? I stammered, trying to process the implications. I found out a few days ago, she confessed, her voice trembling. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want to add to the mess, but now that you know. My mind spun, caught between anger and confusion. If she was pregnant with Dave's child, it would change everything. I had thought exposing her affair was the end of my suffering, but now it felt like the beginning of a new nightmare. Are you saying it's his? I asked, my voice shaking with disbelief. I don't know. I've only been with him a few times. But I know I'm pregnant, she replied, her eyes pleading for understanding. I'm so sorry, Mark. I wish I could take it all back. I stared at her, trying to comprehend the magnitude of what she had just revealed. Could I really believe her? Was this a last-ditch effort to manipulate me? The coffee shop around us faded into the background. All I could focus on was the possibility of being a father to a child that may not even be mine, to a child conceived out of betrayal. The implications were suffocating. I need time to think, I said finally, my voice steadier than I felt. You've thrown my life into chaos. I can't make any decisions right now. Sarah nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand. Just know that I love you, and I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. As I walked out of the cafe, the weight of our conversation hung heavily on my shoulders. I had exposed her, but now I was left with a new dilemma, a child and a shattered marriage that I didn't know how to repair. The future loomed uncertain, a dark cloud hanging overhead. I could feel the storm approaching, ready to unleash its fury once more. I didn't know where to turn or what the next step would be, but I knew one thing, I had to prepare for the battle ahead.